Mic's turned on, to call a meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Approval of the agenda as presented. Bruce?
Sure.
All in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Any additions anybody has? There was one.
Yep, I've got one. We've got Sergeant Michael Miller coming in at 9:30 a.m. to meet with council.
Mike Miller, and he is the new sergeant, right?
The new sergeant for the RCMP detachment here in Wainwright.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Get a motion to approve the, thanks, Richard. All in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Okay, council meeting minutes, December 20th, 22. Any errors or omissions anybody saw? Not a motion to approve them. Thanks, Mike. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Okay, we had a couple delegations in. Sergeant at 9:30 and our MP, Damien Carrick, at 10. Okay, service board. Somebody want to?
Where's he from?
Who?
The federal guy.
The federal guy? I think he lives down around Sedgwick. I don't know. Camrose area, south of Camrose, maybe. Good morning, you two. Good morning. And how's everybody doing this morning?
Good, thanks.
Good. Okay, we have your report in front of you. Anything that you need to add, or anybody have any questions?
It's pretty straightforward, so.
Good. Anybody got any questions or comments?
Shelby's got her extension events coming up in January. A number
Yeah, I
of them.
see that.
That's the new next upcoming thing.
Okay, if nothing else, get a motion to approve them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Oscar. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, meeting minutes from the Ag Service Board, just for your perusal. Anything out of there? Anybody questions?
Pretty straightforward. We just went through the resolutions. That was the major thing for the conference, and just a little stuff on the budget, which we'll go through at our next meeting for ASB setting.
Alrighty. Anything else for these two? Okay, thanks very much.
Hardly worth the effort.
Where's 3044-6?
What?
30, 44, 6.
Might be your area, Bruce. Yeah, it would be.
44, 6?
44? No, not 44.
What does he say?
Road closure, brother?
Oh,
44 is Billy, isn't it?
so which one's? Oh, that's in town. That's road closure at the landfill, just straight east of the canola farm. There's an old road lounge in there. They need to get closed,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
Morning, Council.
how's everybody doing this morning? Good, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, Preston. It's got Preston's report in front of you. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Okay, I got confirmation from Finning last Friday that these scrapers are 10 to 14 days away from going up to Edmonton, so.
They're taking them both?
One at a time. So each scraper go in, it'll be a week.
Yeah.
It's about a 46-hour service letter for each scraper.
And they're going to Edmonton?
Yeah, they're going
Okay.
to Edmonton. So I'll keep you updated. When they go out, I'll do an email out or something,
Yeah.
just to, so everybody has got all the information, I guess, that they're going up there. I am in conversation with the salesman, just getting things set up for ordering the new scraper. So he wants to try and make sure everything's in place for delivery on that. As discussed in the planning meeting, it was an October delivery, but potentially we could also look at an earlier delivery if those scrapers come in earlier. Would that be acceptable from council if we went that direction?
Okay, I Preston and Mike were out looking at some stuff the other day, and we had a talk about that, and that was that the original thought was to go get the scrapers, have them come for next October. But what part of the discussion was, should we get them earlier? Like we could get them for April of '24, right?
Yes.
And the only thing you would lose is 5 months warranty on the old scrapers. But you'd get the new ones in '24, and then you get your next new ones in '25, where if we continue down the road that we discussed at planning, we're gonna end up with 4 scrapers in the same year. I mean, there'll be, you'll get 2 in October and 2 in April. So this would spread out. I mean, it's not, this would spread out for future planning. You wouldn't have all 4 scrapers come due the same year. They'd at least have a year between 2. So
For purchasing, yeah.
I guess it's whatever council wants. Do you want to bump the delivery date up till April of '24 instead of October?
Well, come October, they're going to sit for what, 6 months without much work?
But they won't, if they're not used, if they're not used, warranty doesn't start till they're used, right?
Right.
So even if they sit here, you're not using up warranty. But if you say if you got them in October, and you put them to work for any time, that warranty kicks in right away, right?
Yeah.
So then they would sit for, then they would sit that 4 or 5 months with warranty clicking away on it. So it's just whatever council wants to do, so.
It's a good idea, split them up.
So, I don't know, whatever you guys think. I think you can probably still get those scrapers for April of '24.
Yeah, definitely. I can look into it and try to see what the deliveries would look
Yeah.
like. We're trying to get a clear picture of that, and then I can give you guys that information.
Yeah, so I guess it's up
Yeah.
to council, whatever you guys think.
The other thing we always run into too is we ask for a delivery date, and we usually miss that target, and it's not usually early. So we could ask for that October, and the units could actually arrive in January. We've
Yeah,
seen that
yeah,
before.
yeah,
And then we are stocked up then, for sure.
yeah.
So if we order in April and you're a few months late, we're just going to burn up the other warranty.
Yeah, but you're still on warranty with the old ones, but then,
Until they,
but I don't know, I just think that it's
'Cause I think
forward
essentially
planning.
that's why we're looking at an October delivery, because we were looking for a spring delivery on these other ones.
Yeah.
And they showed up late,
Yeah,
and that's why we're sitting
yeah,
in October.
but if they show up late in October, a few months late, then
Then we're
you'll have,
stacked.
you have 4 within 3 months, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's whatever you guys think. I just thought maybe might be better planning. You get the new ones, 2 in the ground earlier, and then better planning for the future. That's all.
that's a good idea.
If you can get them.
Yeah, I think that's but we need to determine that that's what council direction right now. So is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
I don't think we need a motion. We've already-
No, I looked at the motion, and the motion didn't have a month or an
Yeah,
actual
okay.
date on the motion, so it
Okay.
was for 2024. So.
Yeah, so just see, to
Yeah,
talk to
and
you
I'm
guys.
This was just for clarification.
Yep, yeah, so see if they can speed that up a bit.
Yeah.
Did we get our plow truck?
Yeah, plow
Yes.
truck did come last week. Yeah, everything looks really good on it.
Is it operational yet, or
Yeah,
you still
we
have?
put it out in the field on the Thursday. It
Oh,
showed-
okay,
Or, excuse me, on the Friday. Showed up on the Wednesday, and we had it into the field by Friday afternoon.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, Friday morning.
okay, sounds good. Okay, anything else on Preston's report?
Did Division 1 get the new one?
No.
Just thought it was.
Where do you go?
went into Division, shares up with Division 4 and Division, a little bit of 3, and a little bit of 4 in there, and a little bit of 5 as well.
You know, Oscar, they don't go to Division 1, Division 7 first.
Well, we could have moved ours over to Division 3.
Oh, that's good. Long as it's here and long as it's working, that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was a long enough wait for this one.
Yeah.
So no gremlins with it? It's been good?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for Preston? Could I get a motion to approve his report, please?
I can do that. Oh.
Robin? Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, Mr. Safety Man, how are you doing?
Good morning, very good, yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. Okay,
Not too much excitement happened here since the holidays. Last couple of days I have been working on concluding an internal safety audit within the organization, so we'll, once the review and everything is complete, that'll probably be shared with you guys. Other than that, it's what you see on the report here.
so on the Starlink, I see everything has arrived. What are we looking for a time frame? Like, it doesn't take very long to install, like, it'll be ready for spring, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
We'll have it installed and all the hardware set up and the satellite mounted on the roof prior to opening.
Okay,
Do you know the radius around?
At this time, no, I don't have any of the specs with me. I guess we'll just have to,
Play it by ear.
once we have it installed, we'll do some high-tech testing on that and see how far away we can stand away from the clubhouse.
Okay.
yeah, it's good.
Might fill the parking lot.
Mm.
It might not.
But we'll determine all of that once it's
Yeah.
set up and installed and whatnot.
It'll help raise money for the clubhouse anyway.
I am not following
Well,
you.
they can eat and play on the computer
Oh.
if they want.
Oh,
Oh, I see.
I see, okay.
Okay.
It had an incident, nobody was hurt or anything?
nobody was harmed. So it was actually the day of last council meeting there. There was a grader operator leaving a township road onto a range road, and as he was turning, a vehicle didn't stop in time and ended up rear-ending the grader itself. The car took a pretty big wallop, but other than that, everybody walked away from that unscathed.
Okay. Okay, anybody have anything else? Just need a motion to approve his report. Billy? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, abstaining, carried. Okay, bins, administration. Orders and bins.
Okay. This is basically a request for council to consider ordering more 3-yard bins to make sure we have an adequate supply going into the new year. So we've got some prices from 3 suppliers: Universal Handling, Fusion West, Environmental Metal Works, and you can see they're displayed in the graph just in the RFD. So we've separated them between metal flat tops. You can see the prices going across. We've got plastic flat tops, then metal slope tops, and plastic slope tops. So council has the option to choose whichever bin or a combination of whatever bins they would think would work for the ND and for our ratepayers. These prices include freight, and apparently, from what we've been it's anywhere from, I think, is it 7 weeks delivery, about?
It's between 7 and 8 weeks delivery, depending on when the order goes in.
So what we did is when we put the request for quotations out, we asked for a minimum of 25 bins. So these prices would probably require a minimum of purchase or an order of 25 bins.
Do you feel like 25 is enough? I think some of the feedback I've gotten is the larger bins they've gone up a bit, so they're choosing to switch to a smaller bin. That's the only feedback I've gotten so far with the changes in price. Do you think we need more than 25?
It probably would be prudent to have more than less. 25 was a number just to get
Just
a price.
minimum.
I understand a truckload coming from any one of these companies would probably be about 30 bins. So it's a pretty hard number to gauge how many bins we'd need, but I think, 25 to 30 would do us for a good portion of time.
I think if we drop 25 on the ground, that's exactly what we'll have in stock right now. Close to that.
Well, you might as well, for 5 bins, you might as well get a truckload.
Yeah.
You haven't got much room for damages or anything. So, how the plastic lids holding out? They seem to be okay?
Yeah, the feedback is good. People request them.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, they're not getting broke apart by dumping in the trucks or anything like that?
Not from the trucks, no.
Okay.
Not that I've seen.
What about wind? Like, I know I lift a metal lid and I'm fine with it. Are they requesting them because they're heavy? I just worry about the wind where the plastic ones are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have any feedback on that.
No.
I just see the plastic ones are a little less expensive, so. But, that's whatever council wishes. Somebody make a motion to do something. Or not.
I'll make a motion we buy 30 bins then.
So which ones?
The plastic ones, I guess.
Plastic?
Cheapest.
Okay. So 30 bins of the plastic flat tops? Is that what you're saying?
Flat Fusion.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion?
What company?
The Fusion.
It'd be Fusions West by the looks of it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
First time one of my motions ever got carried.
Snuck that one by. Okay, that's it for these gentlemen. Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You gonna be around after council, Preston?
Yes.
Okay, I need to talk to you for that.
I get the break?
If you're still here, if not, I can call you.
See you later.
Okay, finance, accounts. We have an account we need to add, and it was handed out this morning. It was a royalty check from McLean's. So we just needed that added to the account, correct? Just for you. So, need a motion to approve the accounts with the addition of the McLean ground.
I'll do that, Bob.
Thanks, Oscar. Anybody have any questions on the accounts? If not, all in favor? Opposed of any? Carried. Okay, your financial statements there for your perusal. Anybody have any questions on it?
Hardly worth the drive to town.
Need a motion to approve it as presented by administration.
I'll do that, Bob.
Thanks, Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, any? Carried. Okay, there's reserves, and there was a handout this morning on fire and rec board, so you guys can take a look at it. This is for year ending. Otherwise, your reserves are as posted. Information. Okay, monthly status report. Looks like we probably need to find something for you guys to do. But, just saying. Okay, anybody have any questions on the status report? Not? Edgerton Emergency Service Member, need a motion to have a new person appointed.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thanks. For Keenan Havra.
You bet. Who is it? Keenan Haberon.
How many's on that board?
There would be 4 ratepayers. And then Richard and I, and then there's also the town reps.
Got 2 from the town?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of Mike's motion? Opposed, amendments carried. Okay, open house, something we do every year. Usually it is been the after the April council meeting. I don't know. Anybody have any other thoughts or ideas?
What date's that? The April one?
I don't know for the council.
Third week.
Usually, but they've been bouncing around a bit. What's that?
Well, just because of,
18th?
The Tuesday?
Yeah.
April 18th.
the 18th, yep.
Okay.
So is that still good for everybody?
Yeah.
And we usually have it from 4:30 till 6, I think, isn't that
Yeah.
what we usually have it?
And you usually buy supper?
And I usually buy supper, whatever.
Just so the new guys know that.
I'm in.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
okay, thanks, Bruce. Any further discussion? All in favor?
That's for supper, right?
Whatever, carry. I guess if that's in the motion, Bruce, that's in the motion. Okay, planning meeting. The last time we had was March 23rd. So we need to have one that day and the next week is, I think we've got council that day, unless we want to do it after council.
Probably
No?
need a whole day.
Okay, well, let's look at our calendars then. I'm gone until the 2nd. I'm gone until the 2nd of April. I'm leaving the 23rd. So we can have it before then or after that? What's that? So do you want it before the 23rd, like the 22nd, or that's too early? RMA is, oh, right.
Yeah, we can probably have that.
Is RMA on?
First week in April?
Yep.
Okay, so the 4th is a Tuesday,
I thought that's why we moved it.
or the 4th, yeah, gives you a day. The April 4th work for everybody? Everybody gonna be here?
Yeah.
Right after my birthday.
Oh, you get to buy dinner, you get to buy something.
Probably good.
April 4th?
Okay, I need a motion to have it for April 4th. Thank you, Richard. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, budget meeting, that is into May. No letter in the first week of May, so what date do you guys want? Does administration have a preferred date on that?
Nope, just pick a day. Whatever works for everybody else.
I've got a course, I think it's the first week of May.
You what?
Assessment review.
Oh, the whole week?
Yeah, I think it's only 3 days, isn't it? But I haven't got it confirmed on it yet.
So,
The
last
second
week of
week
April?
would be better.
The 2nd of May?
Second week.
It's gonna get us out, I think that gets us out too far, doesn't it?
Okay.
Can we go the last week of April?
I'll ask my staff if that works as well.
28th, that's the last
Should
working
have
day?
it. Yeah, towards the last week, 27th or 28th.
Oh, 28th to be the last day. Does that work for everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, need a motion for budget for the 28th.
April 28th. I can do that.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's good. Canada Day request, I'm sure that's from the military. We usually give them this, in fact, I think it's,
We usually give them double that, didn't we?
no, we did the 1 year, but then we went, but just the 1 year they wanted, then
Okay.
they went back. We budgeted 3 years, we did, didn't we do 3 years?
I think we're doing it annually, we're past that budget.
Okay.
For that.
Okay, so, somebody want to move the 5,000, what they're asking for?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thanks, Oscar. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, contacts for your perusal. We do have an RMA meeting coming up at the end of the month in Kinsella on the 28th.
In Kinsella?
Hmm?
Oh, where is it?
Yeah,
It's a
Kinsella.
Kinsella.
Okay,
It's a
yeah,
meeting.
that's the one. I won't probably be at that one.
The 27th.
27th? Okay. Alrighty. Bylaws.
Delegations here.
Oh, is it? Well, we must bring him in then. Hello, how are you doing? Good morning, I'm Bob Barse, I'm the Review MD.
Mike Miller.
Hi, Mike.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So this isn't your first time in Wainwright? Mike Miller, he's our new sergeant with the RCMP. Council just wants to introduce themselves and let them know what area you're from.
Bruce. Richard. Bruce. Richard. This is going to be a test at the end.
Well, names are up there, so.
Oscar.
Okay, when I get this off, it will be.
Infamous.
Well, we just met outside.
Yeah, we did.
I'm already failing. Okay.
Hey,
Good morning.
there's a cheat
Met
sheet.
Neil already. Well, I'll remember that one. Yeah. Mike, yeah. Hi, Rob. Nice to meet you. Robin? Hi, Bill. Nice to meet you.
Bill
I
Ball
remember,
Bruce,
uh,
Bill Ball Bruce.
I had come to a council meeting when I was here before, when I was posted as a corporal at one of the ops NCOs, and I came to a place that Lane knew. So I remember Oscar was on council.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you.
Nobody.
This was back
Lane.
probably like 2015,
Yeah, okay.
2016 maybe. I think Lane was away or something.
Yeah, I'll be a few of
You
us are
look
around the table.
familiar. I seen your picture in the paper and I thought,
Just a little older now, you know.
wiser?
You wore a different hat this time than last.
Well, we're allowed to wear ball caps now versus those other hats that
The fur.
aren't so
The
flat.
fur? Where's the fur?
That's in the car. Somebody here likes to wear hats, I heard.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we did at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, have a chair and we'll have a chat and anything that you see that you could use some help with, or we're meeting with the RCMP in Edmonton at our conference. I think we've asked for a meeting. I don't know if we've been succeeded in
Any
getting
updates?
one.
Do you think we're going to get a meeting?
I would hope so. I sent everything in that we discussed last week. As well as they wanted to drill down more on those items that we talked about, so I expanded it to rural. It was initially rural crime.
Yeah.
So they want to know, what do you want to talk about rural crime? Well, initiatives, steps we're taking to reduce rural crime, and moving forward. The other thing was that we talked about was recruiting for the RCMP, human resources and staffing.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that we had talked about, our last meeting with them was the number of members that we have here with the shadow population of camp, is that we were searching for another, to try to get another member. And that, we never heard nothing back on that, so probably something else we'll bring up again to see if that's possible to get another member here. And so I guess, is there anything that from, I know you're new here, but from UC that we could help you with, other than the discussions that you see that we could take forward on your guys' behalf?
Well, one of the things that I talked with Kelly last week was actually human resources. For us, the RCMP, human resources are a struggle right now, like any other industry. I just spent the last 4 years as an instructor at the training academy in Regina. So I kind of have some inside knowledge about what's going on there as far as cadets or recruits coming through the RCMP. And I'll be honest, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to get people to come in and want to do this profession anymore. And I think we need to, as an organization, take steps to ensure that we can continue to supply members to detachments. So as a council, one of the things I discussed with Kelly was to ensure that we maintain our staffing levels here, as well as one of the things that one of the priorities I want to start here, hopefully through our district and through our staffing office in Edmonton, is because we're kind of a hub in this area. Like we have smaller detachments around Provost, Viking, Killam, Concert, Coronation, places like that that are smaller as far as human resource numbers. I think if we can convince, or I can convince our district and staffing to make Wainwright a priority to staff. So if I have the employees here and somebody needs help at another detachment for a while, I don't have a problem with somebody going down there. But when I'm already strapped and I don't have anybody here to work, and they're still trying to tap our resources to go help out somewhere else, it kind of becomes an issue. So I'd really like to kind of push that little hub model onto our district and just keep our staffing levels full, so that when some of the smaller detachments are struggling, we can lend that hand.
I agree with you, it is a hub. You haven't treated it like that. It's kind of like our hospital, it's a hub too, when you see it as a hub.
Yeah.
There's probably something to do that you're working towards, getting them guys to understand it.
That's my plan, anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's very beneficial to our community too. It helps grow our community as well. And that might, help us get another officer here too. We can do that, so.
Yeah, so I mean, our staffing levels right now, I can report to, as far as a full complement here, we're a sergeant, 2 corporals, and 8 constables. We're vacant 1 corporal position, which I had lateraled back into, and then I got the promotion to the detachment commander. So that corporal position is going to be going out for job advertisement internally within the RCMP on the 25th of January.
Oh, okay.
I have actually, believe it or not, 9 constables. We're one, what we call STE. We're 1 over what we're supposed to have right now, which sounds great. But come this spring, I have a member that's retiring, May 31st, May 30th, one of those dates. I have another member that's going to be going in March on parental leave for 9 months, so that member will be gone.
Yeah.
And then I have another member that's looking at running another police service.
Yeah.
So we go from 9 to 6 real quick.
Yeah, it won't take very long.
It won't take very long.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of the business.
Yeah.
And then that's going into our summer months when now it's busier and members want to have holidays, because that's what holiday time is. It's a balancing act. So that's, I didn't bring any of our, like normally with council meetings, I'll have access to our rural statistics.
Yeah.
Once I get that, what I'll do is I'll forward it out to Kelly before I even come, so that you have the opportunity to review it. Rather than me just hand it out, you're looking at a bunch of numbers and going,
Yeah, that'd be good.
what's this all about?
Yep.
And you can have a look at it, and then we can talk about it, discuss it. Rural crime, it's not changed. It was like that when I was here before. It's a struggle. Honestly, it's a struggle for us. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what county or MD you're in, it's a large rural area and very few people work. And you have a marked police vehicle driving around in a rural area, and if you're lucky by chance, you might catch somebody doing something. But that's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
Some of the initiatives that I want to bring forward into here is the use of, how can I put this here? Items that we can place out in the rural area that might lead us to where this stuff's going. Then we have access to things like that through K-Vision.
Okay.
Tractors and stuff. Good deal.
It's called intelligence-led policing, and at the end of the day, driving around aimlessly in the rural area is good for community policing so that the community can see us out there, but it's not effective at reducing crime. It's really not effective at reducing crime. But if we can find out where all this stuff goes,
Yeah.
I kind of call it the beehive. You can find out where that beehive is, and you can make a difference.
Well, we've had some, I mean, at the very outside in the west and in the east, we've had, it seems like there's a group from somewhere. We get a lot of oil field crime. I know I live in the northwest corner, and we've had a lot of incidents out there in the last month or 2 months where they've been cleaning out batteries, and they take anything they can get their hands on. They're not fussy. It's not nailed down or welded in. They take it, or they'll rip wiring out of buildings.
Copper wires,
copper
big
going,
thing. Yep.
big on copper wiring. So if there's some way that we could track some of that stuff, that would help.
100%. Yeah, north of Irma was it was hit really hard.
Yeah.
End of November,
Yeah.
beginning of December.
Yeah.
I was kind of tracking that. There has been somebody charged.
I heard that they collared a couple of them.
Yeah. And a search warrant was executed on the residence. This person was from the Viking area.
Yeah.
They were coming over into the MD into our area and causing some problems north of Irma there.
Must be a lot of work to get a little bit of copper. $3 a pound. Takes a lot of wire to make.
You have to strip it.
Yeah.
So where does it go? I mean, have you given any thought to that?
100% I have. Edmonton. To metal recyclers that are not above board. Because at the end of the day, if you're running an above board operation, and somebody comes in with a bunch of copper wire that's got chunks like this, that's good copper wire. You'd be asking questions where it came from and why you have it. And then you might in turn take a license plate and a description, and generally I would think they would have to take an education from these people when they're recycling their.
You go visit those places and tell them that? They contact us if something comes in or?
We don't. Our K Division units, more so Edmonton Police Service, because it's in their jurisdiction, are dealing with stuff like that.
So the Cadillac burger, same thing. Like we lost quite a few here, what, 3 years ago?
That's still, Cadillac converters are still a thing, and I didn't really understand what the metal was in that was so valuable or why they were being targeted. But through conversation with the local person that's involved in taking those, I asked flat out, he told me they're about $200 to $300 a piece at a scrap recycler.
That should be easier to track, though. What do you think?
I would think so.
Because the guy comes in with 10, he must only get beer once a day.
Well, first of all, why would you take them on to do that?
Yeah.
That'd be my first question, right?
Exactly.
But that's the whole criminal underworld, is that if somebody can, if you're not an above board business, and you can buy something 25 cents on the dollar what it would normally cost you, now you've just made 75% profit before you've even started.
So are you finding that most of this is drug related? Like stealing something to purchase drugs, is that?
I do believe that, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are a lot in our area, are they repeat offenders that are
continually getting picked up, or is it just? like you
We
say,
have,
that
we have the
Irma was
same
outside?
group of individuals that we deal with on a regular basis. That we know by first and last name.
Catch and release.
Are you supposed to drop that catch and release program?
Are they going to or supposed to? Well, I can't speak to what the provincial government's doing as far as the courts. Way out of my grade, way out of my control. If they're gonna stop it, it'd be beneficial to us, that's for sure. Yeah.
I seen the premier talking about that they were taking just in the line.
Absolutely. And I mean, with the looming election coming up, I think that's gonna be a hot topic. You know,
Yeah.
especially with the way things have gone the last 3-4 years. Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
Is it still true that you are asking people to actually report this stuff in the sense that those numbers count to getting another set of boots on the ground, that kind of thing? Most recently, a bunch of kids lost their cell phones at the rink. They said they saw who they thought did it. The police went and got the phones back. So one mom said, like, I don't feel like I filled out a report. So for me, if she didn't fill out a report, does that actually add to our numbers for, it is a petty theft thing, but there's actually a lot of value in all those kids' phones, right?
100% there's value. So to speak to the first part about her not filling out a report, if she feels because she hadn't written out a statement, no, the
still
matter's
is-
investigated.
okay.
It's been reported to us. That's why our member responded to the rink that
So it's still documented
It's
in
still
that
documented.
sense, you don't have to.
100%.
Because some of the charts that came out last year, you were like, there was only, it's sad to say, like one murder in town or whatever, but we kind of knew that that number wasn't accurate. I wondered if it had to be something prosecuted to get onto the chart. As long as it's reported in some way, it's documented in part of your numbers, right? Is what you're saying?
So
Okay.
our record management system that we run,
Mhm.
anytime a file is created, anytime a call is dispatched, a member, it's automatically tracked.
Okay. So you're asking people to still report things, just not deal with it themselves? Because we have issues with that as well, right?
Yeah. And to the other side of that, our numbers, our police resource numbers, are tied directly to our occurrences, our reports.
Right.
The more occurrences that we have, the more police resources we need in place.
For us, we got more depth, or whatever.
It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
100% it is.
So when you drop the ships this summer, is the replacement for any of them coming in?
Not that I know of yet. I just learned last week from district that K Division as a whole is not getting any new recruits into the province until after May 1st. Sorry, after April 1st.
So you don't know how long it's gonna take to fill that retirement or the other ones even?
Exactly. Even if we got a recruit by June or July, by the time that new member goes through the recruit process, field training process, 6 months
Yeah.
to get them
Up to
up to speed so that they can work alone. You know, now we're into the fall.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have anything else? Okay, well, we appreciate you coming and
Not
introduce
today.
yourselves.
Yeah, not today.
It's good for you to come in, so.
Yeah, and like I said, next time I come by council meeting, I'll ensure that I'll have the most recent stats that we have as far as our crime index. I'll include our municipal ones as well, just for your reference. You can have a look at what's going on our municipal side, and then obviously the rural side as well. Review it, and we'll go over questions.
Yeah. That's good.
And then anything else, if there's anything you are looking for, or questions or answers, if you can't get hold of me directly, I know Kelly's got, he's got my email, he can send me something directly if you need. We've been communicating back and forth.
That's good. Well, welcome to our community, and well, welcome back, I guess it is, so that's good.
How long do you think you'll be here for?
My plan, I want to retire. That's why we came back. I got, I'll have 16 years service in March, and so I got 9 years till full retirement.
Good.
Country living?
I've got 4 kids and very involved in hockey and everything else.
Okay,
I don't-
close to town.
I don't want to buy a load of vehicle in a year.
So
But-
where are you from? Where are you from?
Originally, like
Yeah.
before I got into the RCMP, my wife and I are both from Red Deer. My wife's parents farm just west of Red Deer.
Oh, okay.
We went to high school together, started dating in high school, and so now we're 6 moves and 3 provinces later, we're back in
Four
Red Deer.
kids.
Oh, that's
4
good.
kids, yeah. So, yeah.
Young kids?
They are 8, 10, 12, and 14.
Perfect.
And
Life
next
is,
few years-
life is about to get interesting.
Yeah, I don't have hair to start with, but it's going to be a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's great.
anything else, or I can get out of the hot seat now? and-
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
And hopefully it's going to be a quiet winter for you.
You guys take breaks from council at all, or?
Yeah.
What time do you guys normally break at?
About 10. We could actually take a break right now.
So I was gonna
If
say,
you want to
I'll
stay
come
for
back and
coffee.
get a break, and then you can just
No,
visit
yeah,
informally.
we can take a break right now because we got, the MP's coming at 10, so we'll wait for him. We'll all have coffee together. If you want to stay.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
stay.
okay, well, let's take a break right now then.
Sure.
Back on live again here?
We are now.
Okay. How are things in Ottawa, Damien?
Good. Thank you for this opportunity to come in and connect with you. And just let me say, this is the, I think, best dressed county council that maybe
Hey.
I've ever.
Hey, yeah.
So I but no, thanks, Bob, and or Mr. Reeve, I should say, for the
No, it's fine.
the opportunity to come and meet with you, and look forward to being able to have a discussion and connect with you. So the question about how things in Ottawa are, it's a big one. So I'll let you decide how much time you want to give me to unpack that. But thank you
Well,
for the opportunity to be here.
Well, I think that, we're really happy that you've reached out to come and see us. We think it's important to have these discussions with our federal counterparts and, hear any concerns what's happening in our neck of the woods. And I think it's probably something you've heard no matter where you go. We're hearing it municipally, federally, provincially, is the the economies we're in right now, the costs of doing anything, carbon tax. One thing that I hear probably mostly from our rural guys is the carbon tax and cost of power and gas and just operations is it's just 50% or 60% of the bills with everything going up. Cost of living is inflation is people aren't buying beef anymore. I mean, they can't afford it. So I think that's some of the things we're hearing, and I'm sure that's not new to what you're hearing as you travel around your constituency either.
No, you're absolutely right. And what I think is stark is the scale to which the conversation about affordability, the economy, it's not like this is a new issue. People have talked about affordability challenges before. People have talked about the frustration about having to pay the carbon tax, especially in a cold climate where we don't have the choice about whether or not we heat our homes, and in a rural area where we don't have a choice about whether or not we drive to and from one community to the other, whether that's for kids' sports or for work or whatever the case is. But I think what has become incredibly troubling is the level to which our shared constituents are facing these challenges. It has gone from something that people could deal with. It was one thing to be frustrated about having to pay the carbon tax. It was one thing to be frustrated about the cost of something going up. Where we're at today, however, has, and I've spoken with many food banks across our constituency. I've spoken with community service organizations. The demand is absolutely astonishing. The number of people that are having to make the decision between heating and eating is astounding. And I think that's where we're going to see the implications of this, whether that's on it'll be at every level of government. For the provincial side, you'll see a lot of it with health and education and the welfare system, disability. There'll be a whole host of challenges that come along with that. On the federal side, there's an increasing number of people that are feeling the squeeze, that they're having to negotiate payments with the CRA, and the benefits are simply not enough. There's a whole host of challenges associated with that. But on the municipal level as well, people not being able to afford things like property taxes, not being able so the impact is going to be so widespread, and I think that particularly the current government in Ottawa has underestimated how significant that impact is. Now, I'm very thankful that we've seen a bit of a boost in terms of the energy industry over the last, although unfortunate circumstances that have led to some increased prices. We're seeing the conversation around Canadian energy actually be a little bit more positive, although certainly leaving much to be desired for the demand that we could be filling on a global scale. But there's people that are working in the energy industry again. Those are generally good paying jobs. So that's encouraging. But at the same time, when when those folks are making about the same amount that they were 5 years ago, yet the cost of living is so much higher, that's a huge challenge to overcome. So we're seeing the number of people that are visiting food banks, and we have some national numbers and whatnot, and I don't have the specific statistics of what that looks like in our communities, but it is astounding the percentage increase. Double digits, in some cases triple digits. Like you're seeing 110, 120% increase in food bank usage. And in many cases, it's not people that don't have jobs. It's people that their kids are going hungry and they're working full time. The cost issue is going to be, I think, a defining one that certainly we saw this in the fall session of Parliament, but we're going to, I think, continue to see the impacts of that, and it's going to affect everybody.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments?
If I could just specifically about the carbon tax issue,
Yeah.
there is a private member's bill. You know, Conservatives are opposed to the carbon tax, and we have made the commitment that we will if elected, we will get rid of the carbon tax. Now, there are some provinces that maybe choose to still have one. As we know, Alberta has what's called the federal backstop. Ottawa has imposed a carbon tax on the province of Alberta. However, a little bit of encouraging news is that when it comes to the agriculture discussion, and like energy, agriculture had a reasonable year. You know, prices are up, yields are it's maybe not always bumper crops, although speaking with a few farmers that I know in the area here, there's some pretty good crops. And when prices are high, certainly farmer receipts are positive. There's a whole host of challenges. If you want to ask further questions about the federal agriculture file, happy to chat about that. But just a little bit of encouraging news is there is a private member's bill that the Conservatives have put forward that is now in the Senate. It hasn't passed yet, but it passed the House of Commons, and we saw that as the biggest hurdle, that would remove the carbon tax from farm-related expenses, things like natural gas and propane. So it's not the solution. Let me make that very, very clear. But at least there is the acknowledgement by including some members of the Liberal Party that voted in favor of it. Not all of them. Some did, though, saying that it's unreasonable to impose these costs on our producers. So there's a lot more work to do. That bill hasn't passed. It was so close to passing prior to the last election, but then with the snap election call in the summer of 2021, it was canceled. So there's a little bit of, a silver lining in the distance that will, won't solve the problem, won't get rid of the carbon tax, but at least it acknowledges that our producers should be given a fair shake when it comes to some of the significant costs, especially on the tough years, right? Like if you don't have to dry your grain, it's been a pretty good year. But when you're having a difficult year, all of a sudden you're burdened with what could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in carbon tax on top of a gas bill that can be unpredictable, as we know. We felt that it was entirely reasonable, and my colleagues and I have been able to make that case, and we did see that level of support even from other opposition parties that support the carbon tax, to acknowledge that producers do in fact deserve a break.
So you said that if you guys get elected, you're going to abolish the carbon tax. So how are you going to appease a lot of folks in Eastern Canada that agree with there should be some kind of tax on carbon? Like, isn't that what's caused the Conservatives some issues in the last election is campaigning against the tax when there's a certain amount of the population believes there should be something?
Yeah, and it's a good point, because there has been, the environment has been a significant issue that have faced Canadians over the course and have led the Liberals, I think, to much of their electoral success. However, even the Liberals have been very circumspect when talking about how they originally promised that the carbon tax would never go over $50 a ton.
Yeah.
And they lied about it. And I don't say that they lied about it flippantly, because that's a pretty serious accusation, but they did. And the reason why is because they knew that most Canadians did not support that big of a hit. And the reason why they have to raise the carbon tax to the $170 a ton, and they've had studies done that have suggested that it could go much higher than that. one study that suggested that for it to even be effective, it would have to go up to $1,000 a ton. So the Liberals have said that they are not going to do that, but they also said that it would not go to $170 a ton.
Yeah.
So part of the challenge is that, and I think what many Canadians are realizing is that they're paying more, yet the stated objective of the carbon tax was to reduce emissions. That's what the Liberals campaigned on. The carbon tax was a clear answer to the emissions reduction promise. Yet, they failed. The only targets that they have been even close to, in fact, when the Environment Minister, and I serve now as Vice Chair of the Environment, the Standing Committee on the Environment. And being a rural Albertan, I'm thankful to have that rural Alberta voice on that committee, because I can tell you that's missing in the national conversation.
Yeah.
But when the Minister of the Environment stands up and says, well, we saw emissions reductions, and then you ask, okay, well, when? So, well, it was the year 2021. Then you say, okay, well, maybe that didn't have anything to do with your carbon tax, but had more to do with the fact that the entire world shut down because of this thing called a global pandemic. Yet the Liberals have tried to take credit and suggest that their carbon tax is the reason why emissions, that's the only year.
Nobody went
that-
nowhere.
And nobody went anywhere. There were no, I flew a number of times over the course of that year because I was commuting back and forth to Ottawa, and empty airports. So the year that nobody traveled is the only year that the Liberals can point to and say that their environmental plan worked. Well, I'm sorry, that wasn't their plan. That was something totally outside of their control, yet that's the only thing that they can point to saying that they've reduced emissions. Their plan is not an environmental plan. It is a tax plan, and what's worse, especially for rural Canada, is that it is further than just a tax on what is required for us to live our daily lives. It disproportionately affects rural Canada. If you live in a major urban center, you can choose to ride the subway or the bus. That's a choice you can make. That's what the stated objective of the carbon tax is to change behavior. Increase costs to change behavior. That's the whole basis of it. And in the city, one could make that case. However, many Canadians are now seeing how it's simply unaffordable on that front as well. But also you look at the dynamics of an electric vehicle, and we've just seen some of the conversation around those mandates, and the fact that Ottawa may start picking people that need to buy electric vehicles. The absurdity of a national government and a bureaucracy across the country picking, what type of truck you or I should drive is just bewilders the imagination. But again, we're seeing this sort of circumstance where Ottawa knows best, and Canadians are increasingly, and this gets back to your point, Bob, because the Liberals have claimed to be effective at reducing emissions, yet they failed. They've claimed to have a plan that protects the environment, yet it doesn't. They have claimed that shutting down our domestic oil and gas energy will help the world. They've been proven, and it took a war, unfortunately, to see that fallacy demonstrated for all the world to see. But at the end of the day, the very foundation to which they've built their environmental plan on, it hasn't worked. Emissions have gone up every year with the exception of COVID, and it's costing Canadians more. And at a time when Canadians are feeling, the crunch of and depending on what you look at, the official inflation numbers for last year have it close to 10%. Depends a little bit on what's included in that calculation. Okay, but Canadians, I think, increasingly are saying, look, we just cannot afford this. So, do they care about the environment? Yes. Canadians absolutely do. I don't know a farmer that doesn't care about the environment either, because they know that that's the only way that they're going to be able to hand that farm down to the next generation. Yet the question is, how do we actually solve the challenges that we're facing? How do we reduce emissions? Well, we have a coal-fired generating facility that is virtually zero emission. Yet the previous environment minister said that doesn't count because it still burns coal. Like, I'm sorry, but you said you wanted zero emissions.
Yeah.
And we, and in that case, the government of Saskatchewan figured out how to do zero emissions. And therefore, we solved the problem, but you're not accepting the solution. It's the same thing. We have zero emission oil that comes from Alberta. We have carbon capture. There is a facility producing right now it's not quite in my constituency, but just out of Clive, Alberta. There is a carbon capture utilization and storage oil battery that is doing exceptional work. They've demonstrated that you can do advanced oil recovery. This field had been virtually tapped out, right? There was no accessible oil left. You pump a whole bunch of liquefied carbon down there, and all of a sudden you can extract oil and permanently sequester liquefied carbon. And the oil that comes out is according to the estimates, it's actually a negative emission because they're putting more carbon into the ground than they're bringing out. So yet when I bring that up to say, look, we've solved the emissions problem. Alberta solved it, right? We've innovated, we've figured out how to solve the problem. Yet the government says, yeah, but it's oil. We don't want oil. I'm sorry, that's...
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see how the short-sighted nature and the way that the Liberals have approached the environment specifically is being exposed for Canadians to see. And when it comes specifically to the carbon tax, there will be provinces that still have a carbon tax.
Yeah.
But that's up to a province.
That's up to their choice. No, and I hope that I'm really hopeful that the rest of the Canadians understand what you're saying and doing, because I don't know how much longer we can stand.
Yeah.
We can support or not support, but be part of a Liberal government and have any economy left in Western Canada at all, if not just Alberta. It seems like Alberta and Saskatchewan are the targets.
Yeah.
The targets for them, and you're right. It's not about emissions. It's about oil. It's about oil and coal and gas, and they're bad, and we're going to stop it somehow.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's exactly one of the biggest frustrations that I've seen. Is we have, the idea of a federation is a brilliant one. When the fathers of Confederation came together, they looked at the vast landscape that was there at the time, and saw the potential that exists. But one of the keys is that they realized that there are going to be regional differences. Now, in the 1800s, one of the most stark regional differences was there was a significant French-speaking population and a significant English-speaking population, and they didn't all get along. But they figured out how to make it work. They said, okay, a national government, strong national government, will deal with the things that a national government should deal with. The military, diplomacy, plays a role in infrastructure, ports, all of that. Then they saw provinces as the solution to a diverse range of needs. So you had then what started as 4 different colonies with 4 very different demands come forward and say, okay, in Quebec, they wanted Catholic French education. Well, let's just leave education up to the provinces. Healthcare, let's leave that up to the provinces. Resource development, let's leave that up to the provinces. So we saw a clear delineation take place. And the Supreme Court has actually ruled that Ottawa is not a parent, and provinces are not its children. They are different levels of government that have different levels of responsibility. And that's how we, I believe, can see our country actually work. But that respect has to be there. Prime Minister Trudeau mused the other day that mused at how Alberta should spend its surplus.
Yeah.
I don't think and maybe he does, but I would suggest that he doesn't realize how unbelievably ignorant it is for the Prime Minister to, he's never balanced the budget in his entire career, so that's one thing. But to muse at how another level of government should manage its affairs, I'm sorry, stay in your lane. Right? It's one thing to disagree on policy, okay? I get it. We can disagree, and I disagree a lot with the current Liberal government's policies. But it's a whole other thing to make an entire, one's entire objective to be one of interference in not just every province's jurisdiction, but specifically to target Alberta and Saskatchewan and northern BC too, right? You look at northern BC, and then to somehow claim that it's this righteous crusade that is actually, and to be entirely frank, it is hurting our world. We should, and you know, Trudeau just met with President Biden, had their first official meeting, the Three Amigos Summit in Mexico, and we're hearing that energy wasn't brought up at all. They talked a lot about a green transition, yet one of the first things Trudeau did after President Biden was elected was roll over on Keystone XL. Well, now you have the President of the United States begging dictatorships to give them more oil. Anyways, I could go on that. Sorry. That's
So on the carbon tax.
Yeah.
You guys would lose a lot of votes if you got rid of it totally, so I don't agree. I don't think you're going to. What number would you guys consider being a fair number if you're not gonna go with the $170 a ton?
Yeah.
You know, I know you're gonna keep it. You're not gonna get rid of it, because you still gotta fund certain projects.
Yeah.
And he's dug too big a hole to throw it out the window, because it makes you about $10 million a day in profit. So it's, all I'd like to know is, what's your guys' bottom line? If it ain't 170, is it 130? What are you PRing on? Like, none of us are hearing anything from Paul other than a bunch of rhetoric.
So to get rid of the carbon tax,
Pardon?
and to get rid of the carbon tax and to leave it up to the provinces to determine what that should look like for their jurisdiction. Now, let's take a little bit of a step back. The province of Alberta actually had a heavy emitter pricing regime that dates back to 2004. That was prior to the government of British Columbia implementing a consumer carbon tax. What is often referred to in terms of the projects that it funds as the TIER program has actually seen significantly greater emissions reductions on heavy emitters than any project that has come about as a result of the federal government's carbon tax, specifically the backstop. So with respect, we plan to get rid of the federal carbon tax. That's a commitment that, so there's
How are you gonna get rid of the
no
carbon
bottom
tax?
line.
And you're beating the shit out of the bush here. Nothing's coming out, not even a rabbit. But how do you do that when he's just signed a contract with Elon Musk to bring that, which he was using, carbon tax to help pay fund for that big Ontario project?
Yeah. So let's make Canada a jurisdiction where companies want to invest.
Pardon?
Let's make Canada a jurisdiction where companies want to invest. So what's interesting, I think, and one of the challenges is that the government has become the catalyst for, in fact, in many cases, specifically related to energy, whether that be so-called green tech or traditional energy. The government has become the backstop for seeing that be successful. So in my estimation, I think that the reason why is because corporations, when they want to invest, whether it be Tesla, whether it be mining companies and rare earth minerals, whether it be traditional energy, they're risk averse. They want to know that they can invest and ultimately return a profit. Unfortunately, the environment that we have seen created in Canada over specifically the last 7 years has become, many companies simply won't invest. You know, it's interesting because one of the rare earth minerals is there's massive demand. China right now controls a significant portion of the world's supply of rare earth minerals. A lot of it, and that's not just from China in terms of the geographic boundaries of the People's Republic of China, but also some of the strategic investments that they've been able to make in Africa and other jurisdictions.
Because Africa just made big money,
And so they did. They and just signed a huge deal the African Union just signed a massive deal with the People's Republic of China. But when I was in Washington in September, and meeting with counterparts. And every meeting that I went to, Democrat and Republican, they said, we need your resources. Now, in fairness, the Democrats didn't necessarily want our oil, the Republicans did. But every elected official that I met with, they said, we want your resources. How can you get it to us? How can you make sure that mines that mine cobalt and whatever else, to make sure that can happen? Yet, it was a multi-party delegation, so we met with all parties, and there were all parties in the room. And there was an acknowledgement that it is a challenging investment climate. If a company cannot come to Canada to mine something that is the government has deemed not acceptable, so like the oil sands or copper or whatever the case is, then it's pretty difficult for a mining company to invest in Canada to mine something else. So we have to create an environment where we can see investment actually result in a net benefit for both our country, but also those who are choosing to put their dollars to work. So with respect specifically to the carbon tax, we can get rid of the carbon tax. There will be some questions that have to be answered about projects that are funded. But what's interesting is that the government has claimed from the beginning that their carbon tax is revenue neutral. So now there's a whole bunch of debate about how much people get back versus pay. So you remove a significant cost to Canadians. Instead of the government taking that money and then sending it back, which is what happens currently, Canadians will see those immediate cost savings. It can be gotten rid of. There's a lot of people that suggest that it can't. I would respectfully disagree, and I know I've had some of these conversations with Pierre and others. There will have to be discussions about how we manage some of those investment commitments. Take the Canadian Infrastructure Bank as another example. We've seen billions of dollars invested into a federal government program that has resulted in very little being accomplished. You know, $33 billion is what's estimated has been invested into this so-called infrastructure bank. Yet they've seen a turnover of administration almost in its entirety. They haven't actually built any projects. And a few of the projects that they've committed to build they've recently, I think it was in Sarnia, there was a $300 million paid by the bank, and the project was just scrapped because it couldn't meet the cost overruns related with the cost of actually completing the project because of inflation. So we have a whole bunch of unanswered questions. A, about where all that money's gone. Is there bank accounts that have billions of dollars in it? To be honest, we don't know, and the Auditor General doesn't either, which makes it incredibly problematic. There are commitments that have been made, including to projects in this constituency, notably an irrigation project, that we have to have clarity about, okay, the government has made a commitment. We cannot leave municipal or provincial partners out in the cold. Those are serious conversations that have to happen. I don't have the answers to all of those things. But what is incredibly frustrating is that the Liberals have been able to weaponize things like their carbon tax, like some of the other initiatives that they have brought about, to say, okay, well, keep us in power or else. When the reality is, when it comes specifically to the carbon tax, but also you could expand it to the infrastructure bank or other programs, is their management has demonstrated that they're ineffective at accomplishing what they promised, and those who are hurt most are Canadians who will pay the price. So the average Canadian family gets less back in the carbon tax rebate than they pay into it. You axe the carbon tax, that family is further ahead. Yeah. Rural Canada specifically, those of us who drive on a daily basis, our shared constituents who are forced to pay that on their home, and in many cases have maybe furnaces that are not the most up to date or whatever the case is, they're paying more than they get back. Axing the carbon tax,
So
Save-
one thing
save
here
them
then,
money.
Damien, I'd like to ask you then.
Yeah.
How do you have commitments made to reduce the world CO2 emissions?
Mhm.
If you put that blame on the provinces, how are you gonna meet those commitments? And then you've got a province like Quebec that isn't paying any carbon tax right now
Yeah.
due to their cap and trade system with California. Does anybody look into that to see if it's effective?
Yeah.
Is what I want to know.
Yeah, yes, and quite frankly, that's why provinces should be left to determine what's best for them. So Quebecers do pay a price on carbon, but it's through a cap and trade system. So it's not a consumer carbon tax like the backstop. So there is a cost, and it is a significant cost, but it is different than what most other provinces pay. So has it been effective at reducing emissions? Emissions have gone up over the course of the time that system has been in place. So one could debate whether or not it has been effective. But where we have seen the most significant reductions in emissions, it's been through technological solutions. It's been through the ability to encourage innovation to take place. Take zero emission coal, for example. Take carbon capture and sequestration when it comes to energy production. You look at the intensity of carbon emissions related to the production of oil in Alberta today versus where it was 20 years ago. That is a success story that we do not get credit for. In fact, what's been interesting during my time on the Environment Committee is that one of the only jurisdictions in the world that actually is accountable related to their energy emissions reporting is Canada. So we are very upfront about what our emissions are, yet we are one of the few and probably the only jurisdiction that is actually open and transparent about what our emissions are. So we're punishing ourselves and there's the concept of what is known as carbon leakage, because emissions don't see boundaries, right? It's global emissions, and carbon emissions are a part of that. Although there's other frameworks, including methane and whatnot. What is very problematic when you look at where Canada is at is that we make up a very small percentage of global emissions, but punch above our weight in terms of energy production. So when we shut down our industries, we see the demand for oil globally has gone up and will continue to go up. In fact, the most conservative estimates suggest that minimum 2030 will be the peak demand. But now they're even pushing that back, saying probably 2035, maybe even beyond that. And that's increasing demand in terms of the amount of oil the world produces and consumes, right? So we're seeing Canada miss out on the opportunity. So the untold number is that as we shut down or limit our, as the Liberals talk about an emissions cap. Okay, fine, let's talk about an emissions cap on the energy industry. What good does that do in terms of the global emissions situation if we are limiting our emissions, but then it goes to that energy production is then flows to other jurisdictions where they do not have an emissions framework in place, where they do not utilize things like carbon capture, where they do not even have an accountability regime that ensures that they are reporting on the emissions that they produce. So I think that one of the things that we've lost out on is we've punished ourselves for being the best in the world because we're willing to be honest with the world about how we do things. And I think that's where to have those honest conversations will help make us not only equip us, empower us and our industries to be incredibly successful, but will help position us to see true emissions reductions. If the world was to, so take coal as an example, okay? If you could eliminate coal from power production, global emissions would go down by something like 20 to 30%. How do you eliminate coal from power production? Well, you can have the emissions conversation, so you use carbon capture, okay? So that would eliminate.
right? And there was the technological discussions that Canada was leading on until the Liberals got elected. Now, most of that innovation has gone to other jurisdictions. That's part of it. Another part of it is natural gas, something that we have a lot of. And now with the liquefaction capacity and technology that has exploded, we could be a leader. Well, when Justin Trudeau was elected Prime Minister, there was something like 15 facilities that were in the approvals process to be built in Canada. The only facility to enable Canada to export from our coastline natural gas to the rest of the world is the facility in Kitimat, British Columbia. Incredible investment. I've not toured it specifically, but seen a lot about it. It's just an incredible facility. What's ironic is that facility is actually being built under Stephen Harper's environmental regulations, it would not be built if it was required to be built under Justin Trudeau and the Liberal governments. But we went from 15 to now we have 1. And it's not operational, yet the world's demand has increased dramatically, and it's not like it hasn't been done. Germany built a natural gas import facility in 163 days. The world has the demand. Unfortunately, we have been unable to meet it, and so Pierre has talked significantly about, okay, well, Canada's cold. Well, there's one benefit of the cold is it helps us liquefy natural gas. Up to 30% less energy required to actually liquefy the natural gas if you do it in a cold environment. We're closer to Asia, we're closer to Europe than anywhere else in terms of being able to export our resources. Yet that's been a missed opportunity.
So why do you think?
Yeah.
Why is he targeting Western Canada in these things that you? I just can't figure that out. It's more tax dollars for the federal government. Why does he tax the Western Canada for this? I mean, you must have a reason behind that. I would assume.
I wish I had a clear answer for that. I don't know. I see activism. I see ignorance. I see simply a politicization of some of these things that are the consequences of which is the policies we see. I don't know, but the consequences are Alberta's missed an opportunity. Canada's missed an opportunity.
So do you think if elected, you will pick up on those opportunities, or have they lost forever?
Well, I certainly hope they're not lost forever.
German natural gas.
So Germany, the demand is not going to be diminished. Now, we're going to go into summer, and there is the ongoing war in Ukraine, of which I am hopeful that Ukraine will be successful. How long that lasts is anybody's guess. However, the demand will be there. We've seen, because of the circumstances over the last 10 months or so, we have seen that the demand will continue to be there. So as other countries step up, and what's ironic about the whole situation, specifically around LNG, Germany built this facility 163 days. Canada is building one of the many that were initially proposed and have since been canceled. Much of the natural gas that will be exported to Germany from North America, there's multiple sources, will actually be from Canada. But it will have been shipped down to the United States. Yeah. And it will then be liquefied in American facilities, paying American workers that are paying American taxes. And we will probably be selling it at a discount because we do not have the capacity domestically to be able to do this. So then that will be then shipped. So in terms of the lost opportunity, we've seen it. But we've also seen how when you make a change, it's possible to see a lot get done. I'm hopeful and I'm truly optimistic, not because it's necessarily going to be a government that solves all these problems, but you allow industry and the innovators in the sector to do what they do best. I believe that we can see a lot of that opportunity return, a lot of the things that have been lost return. There's been a lot lost, and that will be the consequence and the legacy of the current Liberal government. However, I believe that we can see see a lot of that brought back.
Okay, getting close to time, but I do have one other question. Where are you guys on the 30% reduction in fertilizers for ag producers in Canada?
Great question. So let's take a little bit of a step back in terms of the timeline. This became a big story back in July, where the government had released an emissions framework that would have said that agricultural producers see a gross reduction in nitrogen fertilizer use by 30%. I'm glad that it made headlines. Let's back up from July, 8 months. We started meeting with producers. We started meeting with fertilizer stakeholders. We started seeing that the Liberals were signaling that this was going to be part of their policy. At the time, so this was November, right after the last election. At the time we said, this is a terrible idea. You cannot dictate to producers how they should or shouldn't run their operations, especially when the stated objective of Agriculture Canada is to see crop production increase in Canada by 20, 30, or 40% over the coming decade. That is a good opportunity that exists. However, it's nonsensical for the government to then come down and say, okay, we're going to restrict how you can increase that production. I'm not sure if any of you had a chance to read the emissions framework, but it was something. Now, they said that they would not bring in restrictions, in the sense that they wouldn't mandate the restrictions. However, we've seen that the Liberals also promised that they would not enforce a carbon tax on provinces that were unwilling. Okay, so there's not a lot of trust there. However, the emissions framework that they released said very clearly that producers wouldn't have a choice. They just kind of get to choose how to do it. That's still a mandate. So that was deeply problematic. When it comes to the results, there was outcry across the country. I asked a question about this, I think it was March of last year, long before it was a headline issue. The minister responded, the agriculture minister responded to me by saying, don't worry about it. We love our farmers. We've increased the advance payments program. I asked a question very specifically about fertilizer mandates, and she said, don't worry about it. We've got an advance payments program. That, I think, speaks to where our Minister of Agriculture is at. So where we're at today is the Liberals saw that this was incredibly misguided. They saw that they were going to see significant pushback. Every provincial ag minister said, you need to rethink this, and by the way, we should have been consulted to begin with. So right now it's on pause, and that is a good thing. Similar to the front of package beef labeling, that was something that was brought forward. Ironically, they announced that the week before Parliament adjourned. We were all up in arms about it, and they said, don't worry about it. It's what all Canadians want. And then 3 weeks later, they reversed their
Did they go on pause because of Ontario and the pushback from the farmers down there?
Yeah, it wasn't just Ontario, but it was, yeah.
They were the big
and Quebec and the Maritimes and BC and, yeah, every province, actually, ironically. And the fact that probably that would have run contrary to the CUSMA North American Trade Agreement rules.
It would have been just Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. You wouldn't probably care. It seems like
although a lawsuit from the United States may have been problematic because of the labeling restrictions. So I'm glad ultimately they backed down because it was nonsensical. Right. Same thing with the fertilizer mandates. It just speaks to me how out of touch so much of the agriculture policy is. So the ag minister, when questioned about this, said, "Well, don't worry, we have all this great new technology on the farm, variable rate seeding." Well, my family's been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I know many of you involved in agriculture said, "Oh, don't worry, there's zero till. That'll revolutionize the industry." I said, well, been doing that for 50 years, right? Like, so it's the disconnect that exists between policymakers and the actual producers on the ground. So the solution, I would suggest, and a little bit political, is we change the government, we'll change the attitude. However, when it comes to the on-the-ground where it is now, there's a whole group of us that are endeavoring to bring some sense to the policy discussions. Because things like the fertilizer mandate just showed how truly out of touch those decision makers are. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, anybody else, anything else? I think we've given it a pretty good go here 3 times.
Yeah.
So thank
But
you. Thank you
thanks,
very much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
No, it's
Appreciate
my
your
pleasure.
candor.
And if I just could, look, thank you. This is good, and I appreciate the opportunity to have some of these discussions. Normally, I start with kind of a statement that's not super political, and then usually it gets more political in the Q&A. But this time, it just started with a question around the carbon tax.
Yeah.
So it got pretty political right away. But look, dialogue is something that is so valuable, and I know that my predecessor was very successful in terms of some, especially because the military base is in the MD. There's some unique areas of collaboration, both with the town but also with the MD, and I look forward to being able to continue those conversations. Let me make this offer to you, and I know my assistant, I think, had shared some of the work we've done to help facilitate grant writing and just to increase that dialogue between the different levels of government. Now, a lot of what the feds end up doing is they work with the provinces, and then the provinces administer funding programs. But I have found it to be so incredibly important to make sure that these conversations happen. So whether it be on the political issues that I know you, as the grassroots most direct level of representation, I know you're hearing about the issues, know that the door is open. And whether as individuals we agree on all the issues or not, there is so much potential to be able to work together, to be able to serve our shared stakeholders, our shared constituents, and to make sure that we can do what's best for East Central Alberta, but also to make sure that good policy happens. So let's continue this dialogue. Know that each of you can reach out, and I'll just, if I could just finish with this. One of the things, of course, big picture news headline grabbing stuff is always the stuff that catches our attention. But know that if you or your our shared constituents ever have concerns with the federal government, one of the promoted parts of what an MP does is fight directly for their constituents. So if you know of folks that are having challenges with immigration, the CRA, CPP, whatever the case is, if it's federal government, if it's a challenge, know that you can send your ratepayers to my office, and we will do. I can't always promise to fix the problem, but there will be somebody that will fight for it. And we've seen an incredible level of success. Take passports, for example. We have been able to help several hundred people get their passports that were facing sometimes weddings or sick family members, and they needed their passports and they simply couldn't get them. It was my team in my constituency here and my team in Ottawa that worked diligently to try and solve those problems. So let's continue the collaboration on the big picture stuff, but if you ever have concerns that are related to the federal government and the programs that are supposed to be offered, know that you can reach out, that your constituents can reach out, and there will be somebody that answers the phone that knows where Wainwright is, and will again, can't promise to fix all the problems, but there will be somebody that's willing to fight for them at the very least. So thank you, Mr. Reeve and Council.
Yeah.
Appreciate, and of course the administration that work behind the scenes. Thank you for this opportunity, and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great conversation.
Thank you. No, it's good. It's appreciated.
So next time you get the muffins?
Next time, you let me know, and I'll bring the muffins
God,
next time.
no.
So it's, maybe if I talk real nice to my wife, she'll even make some. It's,
Good cook?
well, I haven't lost any weight since getting married, so it's,
Yeah, you're not the only one.
also haven't lost any weight since getting elected. That's another conversation. Well, thanks, guys. Hopefully you have a productive rest of your meeting here. And, thank you.
Drive safe.
Thank you, yeah. Hopefully the fog.
Yeah, the fog's pretty well gone.
Yeah.
We only have lots of rain in
Dave,
July.
sure.
Thanks,
Good to
Bob.
see you again.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, guys, and
Take care.
I do have some cards as well. Let me, I'll just,
Pass them around.
Pass them around, but thanks, guys.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Damien.
Safe trip.
Thank you. If you need anything, know that you are welcome to reach out, so.
Good. Yeah, take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Well, on this bylaw, I thought we,
We're going there right now.
yeah, I know. But just a quick question. I thought we weren't doing that.
No, this is this is in town. This is the one that we need to do so that they can clean up their the lot beside the canola plant. This is not out in the country. So it's something we have to do to get the seepling or the waste management needs to get it done so they can consolidate and sell it. They can't sell it with the road allowance in the middle of it. You can vote against it if you want. I don't care.
Doesn't matter where the land is, it's still.
Yeah, well, everyone's gonna, everyone can come up for discussion. Some, I mean, we're not doing some of them, but we've done others.
Yeah.
So, huh?
We haven't done any lately.
No, but anyways, this one's about ready to come up.
We moved it a week.
And it does make a difference where it's at, because on this one, I think it does make a difference. You can't do nothing with the property with the road allowance in the middle of it. It's between a railway track and First Street, or Canola Road. It's a little piece that, for some reason, never got taken out when they did the consolidation. So it's got absolutely no value to nobody. But whatever. You vote anywhere your little heart desires. Just telling you. Okay, is Kim coming in for this? No? Okay. Okay. Anyways, we have a bylaw. It's to close the portion of land between the canola plant and Stampede Road and Canola Road. There's a little piece in there that we need to get rid of and turn it back to the landfill so they can do something with the property. So if you're so inclined, do we need a motion? Or do you have any questions on it?
I'll make a motion that we, if there's no
First reading?
questions, sorry.
Yep.
But I always get it bigger and
Which piece is that on this map?
What's that?
Yep, see what they did? You don't have to need to turn around with this.
Does it matter?
Here's the Canola Road, here's the incinerator. Canola plant's right here, and here's where that railway is set.
Right there, yeah.
The Stampede ground's right here, so this is just a portion. And then you want to consolidate this whole piece.
Are we going to pave it too?
Well, not if you give it away. Okay, Robin moved, we read it for the first time. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now what's the next step? We got to advertise it now?
That's right.
No.
Oh, I don't know. One's shaking your head, one's no. We can't close this with three meetings, can we? Don't we have to send it to the minister now, or what's the next step?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be sent to the minister now, and then we'll come back for second and third,
I
correct?
would suggest so.
Yeah, okay. So that's all we need to do in that then, right? Okay, perfect. Okay, the development officers report. We didn't have a meeting, but That's what Kim's been doing. Is she here or is she gone?
She's unavailable.
Okay. So is there anything else that you can bring up, Bruce? Anything that you've talked to Kim about?
No, actually, well, a few approaches and pipeline crossings, but
Yeah, okay.
that's been about it.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve Kim's report. Okay, Richard, any further discussion? All in favor?
What happened?
Opposed, any?
Oh.
Carried.
What happened?
Okay, motion to approve the pay sheets. Bill, thank you. Any further discussion?
Thanks, Steve.
All in favor? Opposed, is carried. Okay, reports. Okay, seat cleaning plant, everything is going along pretty good. First years in a long time, we cleaned 0 bushels in December.
0.
Yep, couldn't get, he phoned and phoned, but apparently at 35 below in the wind, people weren't interested in cleaning seat. But there is he's got quite a bit lined up. So they're working on getting the conveyor underneath the 3 bins on the back. That's supposed to be done sometime, hopefully the first part of February is what they're scheduling, if the company shows up to do it. And otherwise, it's business as usual. So, Edgerton.
Yeah, they cleaned a little more than that, 0. 12,000 bushel.
Oh, good for you guys.
Yeah. So, yeah, things are running good, just not a lot, and cleaning rate's the same, and they're at the same pace as they were a year ago.
Okay. FCS.
FCS, we had our Christmas party for the employees and ourselves. There was 2 different seminars that were going on. They're both done now. There's no meeting this month, so I don't know how they turned out. So.
Yeah.
50th anniversary this year was one thing I
Right.
read. It's kind of-
What was
But
that,
there's
Robin?
been
It's their 50th anniversary this
Yeah.
year, so they're making plans for something, which is great.
Oh, okay.
nothing final yet.
No. It's just noteworthy. That's a lot.
Perfect. Okay. Foundation.
Yeah, we got informed by the government we won't get no money from them for 2023, 2024, which puts us in a little bit of a dilemma.
That's
we're-
your maintenance agreements?
Yeah, that's on the new maintenance agreement. And we didn't get it for the previous 2 years, so that'll be 4 years without that, which has drove our budget. We were about 185,000 deficit last year. We're looking at it. We went over it twice now. We'll go over it again tonight because our lodge meeting tonight. But it looks like there may be an increase to the mill rate for Battle River Foundation of 0.1, which brings it from 1.48, whatever, I think it's 48, to 2.48.
Oh, that's not .1,
That's
that's 1.
one.
That's one.
0.1, yeah.
No.
It's 1.
That's actually point.
Well, if it's going from 2 to 2
Be
to 1 to 2, it's
1.49.
It's one, yeah, but it's going to 0.248 from 0.148.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not
Where's the desk?
So about
Yeah.
75% increase.
70.
well, we'll discuss that when we see the numbers.
Yeah.
At budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if that's the number. That's what it's looking. We're gonna go over the budget probably tonight again and see if there's anything we can leave out or do
Yeah.
and lower it. So just giving you a heads up. And that's about it, I think. Right, Robin?
Yeah, just the organizational meeting
Yeah.
and budget review.
Okay. Okay, the landfill.
We meet tonight, so no real update there, other than everything's been running smoothly. We haven't had any unexpected emails lately, so it's been good.
Okay, 911.
No meeting this month. They're still pricing out, or well, they priced out the generators, just availability, now we're trying to get one.
Okay. The foundation, Billy.
Yeah, we had One doctor slated to retire in the beginning of May. The hospital assessment for the Wainwright Hospital has been completed. I don't know, I haven't heard any results yet, so I don't know where they're at with that. Jamie Malone, who was the director here at the hospital, has left Wainwright and went to St. Paul, so we have Valerie Thompson right now looking after things in Wainwright. And soft start for the CT scanner is slated for February the 1st right now. So
It's getting close.
it's getting closer. And 5 RN positions right now in Wainwright being posted. That's what we're short, so that's all I have.
Okay, that assessment, are we going to have a meeting?
I would think so, but I'm just waiting to hear back from AHS yet on, you know, I remember at the meeting, and I remember you asked them specifically if this committee would meet with them
Yeah.
again, and they felt it was, yeah, that it would, but I haven't heard anything good about this whatever this was there to do the assessment to the Wainwright Hospital. I think there was a lot of problems the day they were here doing it. Like the lab, I believe, was shut down for the week due to water damage, and I'm just kind of interested to know if that got noted on this assessment, with the assessment tool.
Okay.
So I can look further into that, Bob.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it after.
Yep.
Okay, she says doctor retiring?
Yeah, one doctor set to retire 1st of May.
And we got a new one coming.
We got a new one coming in March to
But
replace
but
that
they're
one.
doing their practical in Bonneville?
One of them is, yeah. Yeah,
So
one
they
of
sh-
them's doing in
So they should be
Bonneville.
here summer?
Oh, yeah, no, I think the one that's slated to begin March 1st.
Don't they have to go to Bonneville for a practical? then?
One's doing it right now, I believe. One's
Oh,
doing
okay.
their assessment right now, and then one's going to Bonneville, it's coming, yeah. Doing,
So the one that's doing it now will be on the ground,
be
working here?
March 1st, I do
On the
believe.
ground, working here?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
believe. Yeah. Don't quote me on that. Things change, you know that.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. Northern Lights.
Northern Lights staff came to Wainwright, did an assessment of the network speed testing and website. There's only 5 board meetings a year now, so we'll meet soon, but there's really no news that way.
Okay. Economic Development. Bruce. No meeting? Okay, motion to approve the committee reports. Thanks, Oscar. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Motion to adjourn, if you want. Or, okay, Richard? Thank you.